Hello everybody, this is Toni Turner and welcome to the Market Now as of Lucky Friday, September 13th at about 3:30 p.m. Eastern. U.S. retail sales increased more than expected in August, pointing to solid consumer spending that should continue to support a moderate pace of economic growth. Still, the Federal Reserve is expected to cut interest rates again this coming Wednesday to blunt some of the hit from the trade tensions on the longest economic expansion in history. It's a good thing. Okay, so on that note, let's go on to three charts that could give us a little insight into the week to come. As we always do, we're first going to look at a daily chart of the S&P 500 SPDR, the SPY. This is the ETF that closely follows our S&P 500 benchmark index. Now, when I captured this chart today, the SPY was trading at $300.88, pretty close to about 301 or 3001, I should say, on the S&P 500 itself. So good, we're back up here. We're back up to almost back up to all-time highs. Now, as you know, the SPY made an all-time closing high on July 26th at $302.01. Then it fell to about $281 pretty quickly. In the month of August, of course, it moved back and forth in this trading range, not all the way down to its 200-day moving average, and that was actually a bullish sign. You can see the uptrend line that I drew here and the channel line that I drew above. So at the moment, we see the SPY making a very gentle move in an uptrend for sure, making higher lows here, making higher highs. Now we'll have to see what the next high brings. Now, last week, the SPY broke happily, finally, over the 50-day moving average, and that was coming in at about 294. It broke happily above that on news that the U.S. and China will resume trade talks in October. And since then, this week, it has moved up nicely higher and, again, is back up to and touching its prior all-time highs. So that's a good thing. It did go up yesterday up to that all-time high at 302. So we're just kind of wobbling here today, not sure which path to take. With the Fed announcement next week, it's going to be important to see what the SPY does with that news and whatever else geopolitics throws at us. So we've got this resistance up here at 302 or 3020 on the S&P 500. We have our support down here at the 50-day moving average, the green line, which is coming in at almost 295 now. We have, of course, the 20-day moving average coming up at about 293.50, right below the 50-day. And down below, of course, we have this channel line that I drew coming in just above 285, and we have the 200-day moving average, the black line, coming in at $281.56, or about 28.15 on the S&P 500 itself. This 280-281 zone here has been potential price support for quite some time. So the RSI still moving higher, not quite yet in the overbought zone. The MACD moving over the zero line, that's a good thing. That's a buy signal for a lot of people. So now we're back up to these highs. This is where the rubber meets the road here in the coming week. Again, we've got the Fed announcement for interest rates on Wednesday. So we are going to see if the benchmark gets weighted down by former resistance in the coming week around 202, or whether it can break to new highs going into the fourth quarter. Wouldn't that be nice? So the SPY's action next week is going to be very important. Do be sure to stay tuned. And now let's go on to a chart we haven't looked at in a couple of weeks. This is a daily chart of the Invesco QQQ ETF, the QQQ. Of course, this ETF represents the NASDAQ 100, and it's a very important index in the market, especially recently with the top holdings of Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, and Google, or Alphabet, I should say. And together, those companies represent about 43% of the fund's holdings. Now, big tech, as you probably know, is under fire right now. So I'm anxiously watching the QQQ because so many of these big tech stocks are the top components in this particular ETF and in the NASDAQ 100. I'm watching this with interest to see which way it's going to go. Now, when I captured this chart today, the QQQ is trading at $192.42. The Qs did make an all-time closing high up here on January 26th at $195.29. So as you see, it hasn't returned all the way to the highs like the SPY has. It's so far, it may, but so far it's kind of falling down here. Again, I think it's quite a bit of it is under the fire right now from a lot of DOJs, so or from the DOJ, I should say, and other people in those kinds of positions. So I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. Forgive me. So price support here, if we've got the Qs coming in right now at 192.43, nearby price support is provided here potentially by the 50-day moving average at $189.35. So that's good support. And we do have more support potentially here, the 20 days coming in at 188.33. This would be pretty good support here, but anything is good, only as good as if it holds or doesn't. We've got the channel line coming up here at about 185. We've got more support here coming in at 182. That's been there for a while. And of course, the 200-day moving in average coming in here at 178. So lots of potential support here. We'll have to see again how the Fed announcement, what kind of imprint that makes on the big techs, the big momentum stocks in the QQQ this coming Wednesday. So we're going to have a lot going on here. We'll have to see if the Qs need a rest stop here in the coming week or if they can maintain the upward momentum that they've had here and perhaps even go up to those old highs at about 195 and maybe even break above them. So we're in kind of the rubber meets the road place here again with the Qs as well as the SPY. Our final chart today, we're going to head off in a different direction. This is a daily chart of the Invesco Wilder-Hill Clean Energy ETF, symbol PBW. It's got 37 holdings, and they're publicly traded in the U.S. We have the top holdings are Ballard Power Systems, Itron Incorporated, Enphase Energy, and Pattern Energy Group, or PEG is the symbol. Now, I'm watching this. It's been making a nice uptrend. The PBW made a low last December at $20.08. And then you can see, like many other indexes and stocks, of course, the PBW made a pretty nice V-shaped recovery here. Got a little too far out over its skis in February and did need to retrace some of that move up. Came down to the 50-day, kind of wandered along here. Did make higher lows even though the 50-day got a little ahead of it. Did continue here to move. Basically, it's been moving in an uptrend for most of the year with a few little slips here and there. Not bad, making higher lows here. So in the last week, as you can see, the PBW, I want to show you this. It made a recent closing high right here at $30.66. And you say, gee, Toni, it's gone up quite a bit lately, especially with that run up in January, February. What do you think? And I say back to you, let's look at a longer term chart. Now, we won't do it here, but if we look at a long term, like a monthly chart, that's what I like to do. As a reference point, looking at a monthly chart, if you want to do so, please know that the PBW made an all-time high in December of 2007 of $144. Now, of course, oil prices were very high back then as well, but it just goes to show you that when you're looking at a relatively short-term chart, as we are now, like a 9-month chart, 8-month, 9-month chart, you think, gee, this is really flown, but then you go back and look where it used to be, and it used to be at $144. So I just think that's always kind of interesting. And every time I look at a chart like this to potentially get into a trade, I always like to look at the longer term chart to see really what's going on. Now, when I captured this chart today, again, the PBW was trading at $30.63. It is trading nicely above its 50-day moving average, which is coming in at $29.81, almost 82 cents. What the PBW needs to do here is it needs to come up and break out over 31 here. And if it can break out this resistance point at 31, and if the market continues to be positive next week, although I do expect a little bit of volatility next week, and if the market remains positive, we'll say in an overall manner next week, I may add shares of PBW to my portfolio if it can just get up here and move over 31 and break out a little bit. Now, please know that the next price resistance, if you look at a longer term chart, comes in at 37, so that gives you some perspective. If the market remains positive in the coming week, again, and PBW moves up to 31, I may add shares of it to my trading portfolio. I'm going to place my initial stop down here at about 28.50. And that's my initial stop, and if PBW continues to climb, I will turn that stop into a trailing stop. And I may even use the 20-day moving average for the time being, although that's fairly tight for the PBW. But anyway, I will use a trailing stop of some sort if PBW breaks out and I add it to my portfolio. So you may want to watch, I should say, the PBW in the coming week to see what it does. And now on to next week's economic reports. But first, I want to tell you about a great opportunity. For this week only, we are offering a 20% discount off of your first month of Toni's Market Club. Now, there is no contract, so there's no concerns about that. We only present this discount a couple of times a year, so hey, you may want to check it out. We hold Toni's Market Club online each Monday from 4:30 to 6 p.m. Eastern. And if you can't attend the live session, there's no problem. The session is recorded, and that recording is placed in your account just a few minutes after the session ends. Now, during the session, we talk about which side of the market to trade. I give you a mini trading lesson, and I give you 6 stock picks with entry prices, protective stop levels, and profit targets. Also, each Thursday you will receive the Thursday update, which shows you exactly what to do with each trade. Plus, we give you plenty of free bonuses, including a free month of Metastock real-time charting software. If you'd like more information, please click on the button below. And remember, if you'd like to join us to get your first month of this already low price value for 20% off, simply use the discount code 94TMC at checkout. 94TMC at checkout. Okay, and now on for the upcoming week's economic reports. On Monday, we have the Empire State Manufacturing Index. Tuesday, not much going on there. Wednesday, we have housing starts, building permits, our usual crude inventories, and the very important FOMC rate decision. On Thursday, we have existing home sales, our usual jobless claims, and usual natural gas inventories. And on Friday, not much going on in the economic report world. Again, join us for Toni's Market Club this coming Monday, and before you do, click on the button below and check out our offer for 20% off your first month of Toni's Market Club. Don't miss out on this terrific opportunity to raise your trading skills and your trading profits. Until next week, keep green on your screen. I'm Toni Turner, and this is the Market Now.